Welcome to Turning Tuesday. I'm Reese, and this week we are playing with some more burl. This week is Redgum Burl, and I've set up a third camera angle. So as you may be able to tell, I'm putting a hole in for the woodworm screw to go into. So the whole plan with this one was see if it'll actually spin to start with. So I could see some of the exterior ripples in the wood, and I think I've got maybe 2mm clearance on points there. Anyway, I have seen this section on top, or the bit that I've chosen to be the top, and I've seen that nice bark inclusion and how it slopes, and I'm sitting there going, I want to keep that because I suspect because the bark is there is going to be extremely rich sapwood sitting around it. And so my idea with this one was a relatively flat bottom with a nice curved outside. So starting like a UFO style shape, then coming down with a nice curvature, and then forming a nice bowl in the middle. So, yeah. Let's get into it. So I did switch between tools here. I started with my U-shape bowl gouge. It is a wood-fast one. It's high-speed steel, and it works. And just here, I didn't account for those sap inclusions, and I caught a little edge, and it flew straight towards center. So I was like, ugh. Anyway, moving on, I've marked for a recess, and I will go out there and a touch further. So I'm just doing a pull cut back towards me with the flute towards me and just hogging it away and trying to get a relatively flat bottom at the same time. Now I've grabbed a skew and I am putting a nice sharp corner in there, but because of the radius it wasn't quite sharp enough. So I've just gone to a nice aggressive skew, which is just a straight edge, and I'll use that to do a little pass across the bottom like a negative rake. And I will now declare that is where the exterior of my foot will be. This will only be a very small foot, and as you can tell, I'm having a hard time cutting this. This is very dry hardwood. And this is not from the same blank as my last one. So, if anyone remembers the stories from my last burl video, I picked up 3 coffee table slabs and cut them down into bowl blanks. And there'll be some that I'm going to do some other stuff with as well, but I'm not sure how I'm going to achieve it yet. Anyway, so right now I'm just trying to get that exterior round to about the base of where that bark comes in. So I've just said we're almost round, just a little bit more. Just a touch further. And at the same time I'm just checking out some of the voids and inclusions, making sure nothing's going to fly off and cause any damage to me or anything in my garage. So I've switched over to my long wing bowl gouge and I'm just doing some quick passes, trying to get it as round as fast as possible. And once I've got it round, I will then blend the curvature down to that point. You may notice I just closed the flute there as I got to it, and that's come out quite nicely. So now I'm starting to take these corners off, and I'm just trying to do that with some really quick cuts. Just using a little pinch of my hand and curling it in towards me. And just getting that corner off. Because I know that I'm going for a relatively flat shape. And so I'm just going to work back towards center. I enjoy those cuts, and those grain patterns are really starting to show now. Just trying to eat away at the foot of the bowl now, and then do some nice blending cuts the whole way out before switching to a flat nose scraper. So just a straight scraper that I've got a nice radius on the front. So now I've switched back to my skew and I'm just trying to really define that foot. So I'm giving it a little bit of an underbite and I'm just doing a quick scrape out and taking off any sharp edges there. Gone over, done a quick sharpen. It's just touching up my scraper and I'm just giving that a quick once around. But I will do that several more times. Some of those beautiful little curlies coming off there. Now this has got quite a bit of torn out grain. It's kind of unavoidable when you're working with a burl. So I did the best I could. And sanding will fix the rest. That is the benefit of this burl being an extremely hard wood. It will absolutely sand for the most part. So I'm just going to switch over to my hole gouge and give that a quick catch up. And I've gotten rid of 90% of the torn grain. And I'm going to sand by hand. As you can see, I'm using a foam backer there, which just allows me to go in and not be afraid of those voids. And I'm just giving it a quick hand sand on some of those torn out spots. And I'm coming back with the power. Lathe is not on there, that's just the power of the drill. And now I'm going to blow these pores out. And yeah, those grain patterns are really starting to show. Alright, so moving back in, I'm going to try and round off the sides for a start. Then I will bring my tool rest around the front of the bowl and do the rim detail that I'm after. Again, this is very hard wood, so it's just really nice slow cuts, allowing it to come to the tool. Because if you put too much pressure on a wood like this, you just heat the tool up and rip your edge off. So I was almost there, there's just a little flat spot still. That is pretty much round. Anything else will come out with a little bit of love on the next jobs. So right now I'm just focusing on flattening the surface. And so I'm just giving it a nice little pull towards me. You'll see I've got my tool angled up a little bit. Not too much. I will drop that handle towards the end to do some finishing passes as a scraping cut. And my wife had walked in and said, "You got shavings in your beard." Yes, yes I do. So I'm going into the point where I want the exterior to end, and then I'm just blending it in. I'm just doing some scraping cuts, just blending back towards me. You'll notice here I'm starting to drop the handle a little bit more. So I'm starting almost straight, and then I'm dropping the handle almost immediately. And now I can get that around, and you'll just see that tool handle has dropped. And we are now into shear scraping territory, where it's not much of the blade making contact, and it's coming out as really nice clean cuts. You can see I've almost blended that curvature into the exterior of the bottom. I'm just stopping frequently to make sure I've got all of it. I'm not quite there. I can still see a little line over there. We're getting very close though. And just coming in for a quick scrape. And good thing about occasionally being ambidextrous is you can switch hands. Which means when you're in tight spots like that, it allows you to work a bit easier. So I'm pretty happy with how this was sitting at the moment. But I've decided I'll sand the top so that I don't have to fight with that when I've got the bowl flipped around. I'll apply some finish to the top once it is flipped around though. Blowing out all those sap pores, and here comes that oil. So the finish is a mixture of citrus oil and liquid beeswax. And this burl is so dry, it's just soaking it straight in. So there's not even a patina left on that dark patch over there. It's just absolutely dry straight away. There's some absolutely beautiful hidden fire in this piece. So, we are now ready to flip it around. So as you can see, I've got that rim out there, which is quite wide. There is still that bark inclusion. And we're coming in to do a quick depth hole. And this is the tool that was in the video the other week. So I've just stuck it in the original depth hole and it goes in about 15 mil. And I've just realized that's not far enough. So that's going to work for me a bit better. So I've just got the lathe running really slowly, probably about 500. I probably could have got away with 750-ish. This is high-speed steel drill bit, so could have got away with a bit more as well. But anyway, everything is fine. And I just moved that grub back a little bit when I got rid of those shavings, so I just reset it. And I'm happy with that depth. And I've just given it a quick crank up to make sure I understand what the speed's doing. And when I tried to check my speed, I noticed that I wasn't getting a readout. So I opened the lid, blew out the dust from the sensor, and everything is fixed. So now when we are moving into flattening off the face. So I did a couple of pull cuts there, just some face cuts, and then I did a little push cut. And I'm like, got to be careful not to lose that edge that I'm after. So I've got it round now, and I'm moving to my next tool already. So you'll notice I start this tool at about the 2 o'clock mark, and I swing it open to about 12:30. They're almost fully open, just as I'm coming around that bend. And I'm just doing some quick hogging out passes here, just trying to get closer to that level. Now, I am coming off the bevel there. I'm just doing push cuts in. I should have opened the flute a little bit more. I didn't. This time I started with it a little bit more open, and that is cutting in very nicely. You see I'm starting a bit higher and then swinging down to center. Now I'm at the point where I'm noticing I'm pushing a little harder than I'd like to be. So I went and sharpened. I don't always listen to the tools, but when I do, it helps. I'm normally listening to the wood, not the tools. And so I've just sharpened 3 different tools here so that I'm ready to go, and I shouldn't have to sharpen again. Time will tell. As you can tell with all that blackness swirling around in the center there, it is most definitely full of sap, which takes the edge off the tools relatively quickly. Now this is a Record Power V bowl gouge, and I've got a short grind on it, and it makes quick work of this. Starting it at 2 o'clock, get it in, get that ridge established, open the flute, and swing it round. I just noticed that black spot in the middle got a little bit lighter. Woo! Starting to look good and getting through this. Oh, just got blasted in the face on the camera. So at this point in time, I know I'm going to come in with the scraper to refine all the curves. So I'm trying to get out to that exterior rim. I've still got about a 1mm ridge there before I get in. And so I think I'm going to start coming in with some nice finishing cuts here. And I've got a pretty good underbite on that rib. I think I've got about 1mm that it goes under. I was very happy with that. So I decided to try and flatten off the bottom and get some of that waste wood out of there before maybe trying to go a touch further. So I'm looking on the far right hand side that you can't see right now, but I'm just watching the ridges in the wood for whether I'm actually in the right spot with my tool. So you might notice here that I'm going out and I'm coming back and swinging out again and then coming back. And now I'm moving into my homemade front and side scraping tool, which was originally a 1-inch round nose scraper. And I'm just trying to get that underbite to be nice and strong. Switching over to my 38mm by 10mm bowl scraper here, and I'm just working out towards the edge, making sure I stop before I get to that rim. Now I've just switched over to my 38mm by 10mm round nose scraper, trying to get rid of a little ridge that's in there. And I'm not getting rid of it, so I try to take the middle down and come out to it. As you can see, I'm really focusing on that ridge because it's annoying me at this point in time. I'm just doing a couple of final passes here. As you can tell, the handle is quite high. And then I will switch over to the underbite tool again. My custom tool. I've turned it in a little bit and I am doing a shear scrape here. Just trying to make sure it's nice and clean in that cove underneath the surface. And making sure I don't leave any ridges behind. So just switching in between tools here and making sure I've got it where I'm happy. And obviously I've got another little ridge there. So coming back again for another pass. That's starting to feel alright. going very, very light, gentle cuts. The reason it sounds so loud is that I have got my directional mic above, pointing straight at it. I like to pick up the sound of the tools and not much else. Now the center was significantly higher, so I've just taken that down. Trying to make sure I've still got a little bit of a dip in the middle. I don't want it completely flat. But I also have to remember that there is a recess sitting underneath. And so now I'm moving into the sanding portion. And this was a lot of sanding. I don't think I got the drill back out for this one because it actually came out quite nice. And we're up to 400. Blowing out all the pores now. And getting some of that oil on. So that rim now is saturated and will be dry in about 3.5 seconds. And I'm going to get more oil. Very much enjoying this little detail. Oh, those rich blacks with the rich whites. That's very much a red, black, and yellow theme. And that's why I've called this one Nature's Hidden Fire. Because it just feels appropriate. Some of the figure itself also just looks like flames, and yeah, I love this one. So, thank you for watching. We're about to step into the photo galleries for the end piece, and thank you very much. As you can see, those rich reds with the oranges and yellows, with the beautiful black sap lines, making this an absolute masterpiece of a flame. And so I very much enjoyed this one. Now, none of that fiddleback texture that's in there actually shifts with chatoyance, but it is gorgeous. Thank you very much for watching. If I've earned your subscription, thank you very much.